Welcome to the Week in Politics with Michelle Grattan. My name's Nick Klomp. I'm the Deputy Vice-Chancellor here at the University of Canberra. Michelle, Malcolm Turnbull's government has been returned for another term. Bill Shorten conceded defeat over the weekend. With a re-energised group of Conservatives within his party, what does the road ahead look like for the Prime Minister?
I think pretty bumpy, Nick. I think that he's going to have challenges on a number of fronts. You mentioned the Conservatives in the party. They're at the moment being quite assertive. They're challenging, for instance, the superannuation policy that the government took to the election, and Malcolm Turnbull's resisting that and saying the policy as it was presented to the people will be taken to the Parliament. And they're also, of course, or at least some of them, pushing for Tony Abbott to be back in the ministry. Now, again, Malcolm Turnbull's essentially saying no way. I think also he'll have, of course, as we know, the challenge of a difficult Senate, as many more indeed crossbenchers than he had before, and that'll take a lot of negotiation to get legislation through. And on top of all that, he has only a slim majority. Now, he does have a majority. We're not in minority government territory, and therefore he has the numbers, but he doesn't have a lot of fat there, so his own members have to be fairly carefully nurtured to see there are no breakaways on votes and so on.
Yeah, because Malcolm Turnbull has confirmed that the Nationals will be entitled to greater ministerial representation. In the end, does this produce a major complication for Malcolm Turnbull?
It does produce the immediate complication that the ministerial spots that are vacant because some front benches lost their seats. They are very limited for Liberals because the Nationals, under the formula of the coalition representation, are entitled to 2 more front bench spots. Malcolm Turnbull's conceded that, and therefore he'll be able to promote fewer of his own Liberals, and that is a double complication really. Not only are ambitions thwarted, but it was speculated that at least 2 Conservative Liberals would be pushed up, which might help his tensions with the Conservative wing of the party. Well, it's hard to see how he can get 2 unless he drops people, and that brings its own difficulties because you build up resentments and so on. The Nationals, incidentally, are a very interesting story at this election. They've improved their numbers. They're 1 up from what they were in the coalition ranks before, in an election where, of course, the coalition went backwards in general. And they ran very strong local campaigns. They recognised pretty early, I think, that the fairly high-level jobs and growth mantra that the Prime Minister was pursuing wasn't going down all that well, and they really got down into the weeds of their electorate and argued the case for being good representatives, and it paid off.
That's interesting because there'll now be a slightly different balance of power, as you're indicating there. The Nationals and the Liberals have decided on a new coalition agreement, but Barnaby Joyce has indicated that he'd like this to remain secret. What's going on there?
This has really, in a sense, been a bit blown out of proportion. The coalition agreement fundamentally is about the divvying up of the front bench, the numbers and so on. It's about not contesting seats when there's a coalition occupant, so that you don't have 3-cornered contests and those sorts of things. Now, last time when Malcolm Turnbull became Prime Minister and there had to be a new coalition agreement, then Nationals leader Warren Truss didn't actually trust Malcolm Turnbull all that much. So there was an agreement about various policy issues. For example, that climate policy wouldn't be changed and that there would be a plebiscite on same-sex marriage. It would be taken to the people rather than just the Parliament. And that was attached to the coalition agreement. and that became public. Now, this time, I think there is not going to be any sort of policy agreement. So really, whether it's secret or whether it's not will matter a great deal less than it might have in other circumstances. I think it should be public. By the same token, if it's really just about process and numbers and so on, we'll know that anyway, so it doesn't matter so much that it's secret. If it had been about policy, that's another matter.
Yeah, no, I understand. You've mentioned the possible bumpy ride for the Prime Minister, particularly the uncertainty in dealing with the Senate. Do you expect Labor to play hardball when it comes to passing government legislation?
Mostly, I think it will, because Bill Shorten really needs to keep up his profile. He's had a very good campaign. He is now, of course, confirmed as leader, but Anthony Albanese is still there in the wings. He's still ambitious. Bill Shorten can't afford to slip out of public consciousness, to be seen not to be really on the ball, doing a good job. So I think he will continue to be aggressive. He'll run a sort of permanent campaign in opposition, and that will mean fighting most things with the government. Not absolutely everything, of course, but most things. So Malcolm Turnbull won't be getting much comfort from Labor, which means that there's going to be a lot of tough negotiations with those crossbenchers, the Hansonites, the Xenophon crossbench, and we've already seen Xenophon and Andrew Wilkie from the lower house talk this week very strongly about gambling, because of course Nick Xenophon is very strong on gambling reform. He was originally elected as an anti-pokies candidate, and I think that he will want to extract concessions in that sort of area in return for support on other things.
It's going to be an amazing ride for the next few months, perhaps even for the next few years. Michelle Grattan, thank you once again.
Thanks, Nick.